All right. So,
Hopefully,
Tucker, are you ready for Rendezvous?
I am.
All right.
Um,
Let's get to that one.
cool. While I'm talking, Will, I'm getting a. Oh, never mind. It just went away. Okay. So here we go. Let's talk about Rendezvous. So Rendezvous is the scenario that comes with the Dakir Vulcan ship. It is from Enterprise, like the Vulcan ship. It is based on the season finale of season one and going into a two-part episode that ends at the beginning of season two. Now, before everybody runs away screaming when I say Enterprise, with the exception of some of the temporal Cold War stuff that happens in this episode, this is actually a fairly strong episode. The premise is good. The temporal Cold War stuff makes it not so great. But anyway, so the scenario is this. The Enterprise, or our Federation ship, screws up. They accidentally blow up a planet, basically.
Oops.
Now, hilariously, this is a mining colony on the planet Paragon, which, if you're a fan of Knights of the Old Republic, you may think is funny because it's very similar to an accident that occurs on the mining colony of Paragus. Just a little trivia thing there. Anyway, so your mission is canceled, and the Vulcan comes to take their first officer home. But you're under attack by Suliban cell ships, which are little tiny, like D12s, basically, that zoom in and attack you. And the goal of this scenario is to rescue the Federation ship. This is an interesting scenario because it has a complete success, a marginal success, and a failure. The complete success is if there are two ships, a Declare cast and a Federation ship. If both ships leave the map via the north area edge, it's a complete success. They don't have to do it at the same round. It's a marginal success if the Federation ship leaves, but the Vulcan ship is destroyed. And it's a failure if the Federation ship is destroyed or if you run off the map any other way. The setup is you have the Vulcans facing south on the north edge of the map in the center. The Federation facing north, surrounded by 8 Suliban cell ships. And the way these work is they work as independent. There are 8 tokens. Each of them has the following stats. Primary weapon 1, agility 1, hull 1, shield 0 with a 360 arc. But the interesting thing about them is they don't get actions. They automatically move towards the nearest ship with a 3 straight. They fire last, they move last, and they combine their attacks. In other words, if you have 8 tokens within range 1, you don't roll 8 attacks with 2 dice each. You roll 1 attack with 16 dice.
Hey, Tucker,
now,
did we mention that this was a one-player scenario?
I was just about to say that. And here is what I have to say about that. Technically speaking, as outlined by the card, this is a one-player scenario. The Suliban ships move automatically, and you, the human, control both the Vulcan and the Federation. However, one of the reasons that I really like this scenario is because you are restricted to 40 points per ship, and you can only use Federation upgrades on the Federation ship, and Federation or Vulcan on the Vulcan ship, but I tend to restrict it to Vulcan only. In other words, faction peer for both ships. I actually like to play this as a 2-player cooperative scenario, with 1 player controlling the Federation ship and 1 player controlling the Vulcan ship. The reason I like to do this is that handling the Vulcan ship is actually extremely easy for new players. There are very few Vulcan upgrades out there, and there's just not a lot to contend with. All they have to really think about is where the Suliban ships are and where they're going to be, and because they move so automatically, there's just not a lot to keep track of. This is the way in which I tend to play this. I played this as a teaching game. My girlfriend and I play this as a co-op a lot. And it's one of my favorite things about the scenario is that it becomes a cooperative scenario so easily because the only other cooperative scenario in Attack Wing is the Scimitar one, which has a lot of stuff to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So, now before I talk too much about strategy for this one, there is one thing I have to mention. If you get a Federation ship that can do even a 4 forward, I think clears it, but definitely a 5 or 6 forward with transport drive or something, you can put yourself such that all of these ships will be clustered immediately behind you. If you have a rear firing arc, you can then proceed to drop antimatter mines on the vast majority of these guys, and that will kill most of them.
Easy
Don't
mode.
be that guy.
The easiest of
don't
easy
be that
modes.
guy. I'm sorry, say that again?
The easiest of easy modes.
Yeah, the easiest of easy modes. Drop antimatter mines. And do that like twice and you've won. Now, this is not an OP. I assume if you are playing this, you're playing this for the challenge of it. And do not get me wrong. This is a tough scenario if you don't build properly. A lot of people have actually complained about this scenario because of the perceived difficulty of it. So, shall I talk a little bit about strategy?
Yeah,
Sure.
Let's do that.
Okay. The Vulcan ship, especially if you're restricting it to Vulcan upgrades, takes whatever, I mean, it dirtles around with Vulcan upgrades. It's, you know, you take an aft particle beam, maybe a couple tractor beams, and that's basically it, because you don't have a lot of slots. The Federation ship, on the other hand, is in a little bit of a pickle. Because pretty much any way you handle it, you are going to be taking a big couple of attacks the first couple turns. This is why I wanted to discuss flagships. One thing that is very, very good to do in this scenario is to take the independent Federation flagship and Rudolph Ransom.
Free evade and extra evade dice.
Yeah, this, I can't tell you how much this helps. This is a pretty big deal. Oh, quick note, by the way, because the Suliban ships have a 360 arc, that Vulcan captain who gives you an extra evade token can actually be pretty good in the scenario. Kuvak.
Yes.
He can be pretty good for the Vulcans. But on the Federation side, I mean, you're really looking at like, I mean, I have even looked at something like, in recent times, since its announcement, I have looked at something like NX-01 with hull plating, Ransom, independent flagship, and Sulu. Just to make sure that I can freaking survive.
Just to get the highest defense dice possible.
Yeah, and a certain amount of quality in there too. Because let me tell you something, this can be a rough ride if you are taking, you know, if you're, and the flip side of it is because you're only dealing with, you know, 40 points, I mean, sure, you could go Voyager, you know, and try and pick off a few guys with your 360, but that's 30 out of your 40 points, you know? And I guess I could see going, let's see, Voyager, Ransom, what would I do after that? God.
So really what we're hearing is, you know, you need the biggest defense possible because these things are going to wreck you on turn 1.
Yeah, on turn, and here's the other thing, strategy. Whoa, I'm getting a big echo. Testing. Okay, it's gone. So one thing that the Dakir can really do to help the whatever ship you're running is just going all out forward and trying to pull some of the cell ships. Because if you are not prepared and you have 8 cell ships attacking you, that can very easily be 16 dice. And depending on how fragile your ship is, that can be game right there, which is why I think a lot of people struggle with this scenario. But with that said, the other thing you have to remember, by the way, which is really annoying, is you have to take to Paul.
On the Federation one?
On the Federation one, you have to have T'Pol with you.
But there's 2 T'Pols now.
There is 2 T'Pols, and one of them is 1 point cheaper. And frankly, that combined with the fact that the Federation one gives you a tech slot, I would, and at this point, almost always run that one.
Mm-hmm.
The T'Pol from the Dakir is useful on defense, but number 1, you can claim faction purity if you do it with the other one, and number 2, I oftentimes, back when I had to take Vulcan T'Pol, found myself wishing for that 1 more point, you know?
1 point can be a lot.
1 point can be a ton. A ton.
So yeah.
By the way, I absolutely cannot stress enough also how good of a scenario this is to teach new players, for the simple fact that having a new player playing a ship that thematically is coming in and rescuing another ship is just feel good. In other words, you might be the big, tough, experienced veteran, but you still can't beat 8 cell ships by yourself. So, you know.
That's cool little thematic there.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, this game is really lacking in good co-op scenarios. The scimitar is fun, especially if you use a board cube instead of a stupid scimitar token. But that's it as far as co-op goes, except for this, really.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that's neat about, well, what was I going to say here? Like, if you go full thematics on it, I mean, it seems like there might be a small problem at the beginning because thematically, this was the NX-01 in the Federation spot, right?
Correct, and that puts you at durability 3.
And that's rough.
Good luck.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I was
gonna say,
in that case,
did we go over all the attack range rules for when they're firing?
yeah. Oh, I tried to say that is you combine the attacks, but you treat each ship. You figure range for each ship before you add all the dice together. So if you have 8 ships at range 1, you're getting hit with 16 dice, not 9.
Mm-hmm. And on the flip side, for everyone that's at range 3, you get an extra defense die.
Right, but that, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now that hardly ever happens. In fact, I don't think I've ever been attacked by a cell ship at range 3.
And that just sounds like it's going to be like a really large dice fest. Like there's going to be a lot of luck involved if they're rolling an average of like 12 attack dice without any modification each turn.
Well, that's the thing. Because they have 1 agility die and 1 hull and no shields, they go down really quickly. So by like turn 3, you're only really getting attacked by like 6 dice, generally.
Yeah, because you can take out 1 a turn pretty easily.
3.
Sorry, what'd you say, Dave?
As I was saying, you still have to get to turn 3.
Yeah.
Well, you should at least take 1 out in the first round with whatever your Federation ship is, since they fire last.
Right. Now, there is a way of doing this that I think the other way of doing this that is sort of counter, I feel, to the what we call it, the intent of the scenario or whatever, is take like, I don't know, what's the smallest ship they can take? We'll take a Nova class, just a generic Nova class, right? Give it transwarp drive, and Jadzia Dax, and just fly it straight off the board.
That's what I was thinking of when I was first looking at this scenario. It's like, well, everything starts within like range 2 of your ship. If you can go a double, like a 3 and a 2, like especially since if you're using the NX-01, it doesn't have a 4 forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NX-01 is not a great ship for this scenario.
But if you can stack on even just one, even just Jadzia Dax on this, I think would make it a lot easier because you're moving. You can do a 3 bank and a 2 bank with Jadzia, and even though you can't attack, that's still moving you like 5 in a kind of an offerly direction.
Oh, what about Admiral Forrest? Perform an additional 1 maneuver. But, I mean,
That's not too bad either.
there's worse things for an action.
Mm-hmm. Like you were saying earlier that this is... Sorry, go ahead, Tucker.
Yeah, here's exactly what I would do. I'm just building this right now. I just need to double check the text of a...
That's cool. So while you're building that, there was the mention earlier that, you know, it's really cool to have a scenario where another player can come in and save you, because the only one we have before like that is the Kobayashi Maru, and that's not exactly a new player-friendly scenario for the good guys.
Depends on who your idea of the good guys are. Kaplach!
Well, I picked up from somewhere on Board Game Geek or something where the guys, the experienced person takes the Enterprise, and the other guy runs the Klingons, the new person, and it becomes an objective of, can the new person hunt you down before you get away? And usually it's a good morale boost to the new player because they usually win.
Well, you know what? Another one that's good for teaching for that exact reason is destroy the outpost that comes to the Galgathon. Use the experienced player, try to blow up the outpost, and they just try to kill you before you do that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. The Reign of Terror one? No, that was the name of the episode.
Balance of Terror, which is, by the way, my favorite Star Trek episode. It's just fantastic. By the way, so I just figured out how I would beat this scenario with the Federation ship. This is so cheap. Are you ready for it?
Uh-oh. The cheap version.
Intrepid class, generic. T'Pol. Jean-Luc Picard 6. Engage and Janice Rand. Exact points.
I assume the Picard maneuver was in there. I was too busy laughing at what you already said.
No, engage.
Oh, engage?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because Picard maneuver doesn't quite fit. Because it's an action. And you can't Picard and Picard maneuver on the same turn without Rand, which you can't fit if you use Picard maneuver. But yeah.
I'm sure, yeah, especially with the new Stargazer cards, there's ways to get like 17, 20 across the board in one turn.
Yeah, well, this is with Engage, Rand, New Picard, and an Intrepid class, you're doing 15.
I was going to say, remember Engage requires a green maneuver.
Catch me now.
Remember that Engage requires a green maneuver.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Okay.
There's always Incha if you go that direction.
Well, I'm sure. No, you can't use Incha on this one because you can only put Federation stuff on the Federation ship.
Oh, is it actually limited by that?
Yeah, that limit is actually there.
Only Federation and Captain and the T'Pol upgrade. Yep.
Well, the reason.
And there's still Picard maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing 12. The thing about the Picard maneuver is it makes you do a 5. You do 2 5s.
And you can't run it on the NX-01 because it won't be able to get up fast enough.
Yeah, I'm doing this on an Intrepid, which is zippy zoom, you know.
Zoom.
Actually, you know what?
Picard maneuver does work with a 3 forward.
You know what, though? Actually, I just realized. If you sacrifice your ability to do a 6, you go Galaxy class instead of Intrepid. That gets you the points to go Picard maneuver, Rand, T'Pol. So that's 15
that's a 5 forward, a 5 forward, and another 5 forward.
Yep.
Are you sure you're not off the board at that point?
I think you might be off the board at that point. So
The Dakir just looks at you and is like, "Oh, he's on his way. We're gonna do one right this way and another right that way, and we're off the board."
Yeah.
Wait, no, the Vulcan doesn't have to set up facing south. They just have to set up. They can sub setting north.
No, it says it has to have the back of its base touch the north edge.
Oh, all right. Well, Vulcan, let's see. Do Vulcans have the ability to do extra maneuvers? I guess if you wanted to give them a resource, you could give them a skilled helmsman.
Hey, it says the Dakir can take Federation upgrade. You give that engage. It does a 2 red to the right, then a 1 green bank, and then it engages for another 1 green bank. That's 2 turns.
Well, I mean, it's Vulcan. You could just give it an auxiliary control room.
Oh, that works too. That's just a great card.
Yeah, which by the way, I highly recommend if you've got those tech slots. I mean, you could use them on the tractor beam. But...
So we figured out how to do this scenario in 2 turns. Woohoo! Let's go on to the next one.
And antimatter mines. I mean, it's okay, but like this is a fun scenario if you treat it fairly.
Mm-hmm. Don't try to cheapen it too much, because there are definitely ways to break the scenarios.
Wait, no, the Dakir can do a 1 backwards, guys.
Oh. Forgot about that.
So, and we have learned that once again, if you're playing Federation, the solution is Jean-Luc Picard.
Always.
Always.
Although we finally found a use for Picard 6.
Hey, I think Picard 6 is a pretty good card, man.
I'm on Picard 6 myself.
Yes.
All right.
Just really quickly, are there any other Federation ships besides the Galaxy and the Intrepid that naturally have a 5 forward?
I don't believe so.
I've got all my maneuver cards here, so I'll look.
Does the Stargazer?
No.
Okay. Then none of the others do. If the Stargazer doesn't, none of the others do.
Yep. Those are the only 2.
Unless you start going into like the Cardassian Dominion stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. You could easily switch this around a little bit to like have like a Dominion rescue of a shapeshifter on another Jem'Hadar ship or something like that. This scenario is pretty easy to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, and then and then the person that has to be rescued, as long as you make them 3 points and basically useful, it's a decent scenario to adapt.
I think that's cool. Because that's another thing about missions is being able to switch them up a little bit, which is pretty nice.
If you want, you could have Worf coming in on the Defiant to rescue Alexander.
Oh. Oh.
We've made Attack Wing a role-playing game.
Oh. That's the cutest. Oh my god. So much pathos, and Alexander will still hate him, and Worf will be all drama about it.
I can see the episode writing itself right now.
Yeah, I almost want there to be a Counselor Troy card now, just so Riker has to come get her.
That would be interesting.
That's great. All right, anything else on this one, guys?
No.
Think we're good here?
This one, I will say this. This one is one that gets a lot of negative press. Please, guys out there, don't knock it till you try it.
You've convinced me to give it a try.
Mm-hmm. Just be careful that you don't get destroyed on the first turn. And the bonus point, if you do get destroyed on the first turn, it's very easy to set it up again and try it a second time.
Yes.
Yeah. This is another one, by the way, that plays really fast.
Oh, yeah. Getting across the board, even without all the bonus maneuvers and movement and stuff, should only take like 4 turns, 5 turns at most. Yeah,
and if you haven't won by then, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just done.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, guys, that was Rendezvous. That comes with the Vulcan Dakir class. It's a pretty neat one. I really love these little cell ships. And it comes with all these little 1 through 8 tokens that you have to go move them around with. I'm sure that'll be.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they're really good components too. If you do, your own missions or things like that.
Yeah, they're also not numbered, which is nice. The tokens themselves aren't numbered, so they just look like space debris if you want them. They're about this. Oh, that's the other thing. They're about the size of a penny, so this is one you don't really need the tokens for. If you have 8 pennies, you can set up this scenario at home.
Oh yeah, you can use any kind of the smaller tokens. I don't know. I thought mine came numbered. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong scenario. Maybe this is for a different one.
I'll double check, but I don't think mine are.
But that's cool.
That sounds like a Plano case opening. I know that sound.
I've only got 3 of these for my Star Trek stuff now.